Welcome to Next Level You podcast. I'm Stephanie Dingbaum, your host, your biggest cheerleader, and your go-to girlfriend for real, raw, and uplifting conversations about leveling up in life. As a mental health therapist with over a decade of experience and a business coach helping women elevate their lives and businesses, I'm here to guide you through the mindset shifts, holistic practices, and manifestation tools you need to step into your most authentic, next level self. Whether you're here to ignite your personal growth, elevate your professional game, or simply rediscover you, this podcast is your invitation to dream bigger, go after your goals, and unapologetically claim the life you deserve. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's dive in. It's time to up-level, manifest, and glow. Welcome to Next Level You podcast. Stephanie Dingbaum here. First collab of 2025, and it feels so good to say that, but as we're recording, it's still the end of December, and so I just want to preface this collab with, the podcast just went through a rebranding. We were Therapeutic Intentions podcast. We are now Next Level You podcast. We're just switching gears a little bit. I have done a lot of soul work. I've done a lot of mental and emotional health work in the last 6 months, and very much got this download that the podcast needed to go through a little bit of a rebranding and needed to get away from health and wellness and really embrace personal and professional development. And so Next Level You has been born, and this is something that feels very soul aligned for me. And as I'm launching my coaching business and helping female entrepreneurs really embrace their authentic version of themselves and show up authentically in their business and confidently in their business, I just very much felt compelled to also bring that same energy into the podcast. So here we are. Welcome to 2025. I have an expander in my life, Stephanie Grutz here. I'll have Stephanie do a brief introduction here in a little bit, but I just want to say, you guys, Stephanie truly has been an expander in my life. So Stephanie Grutz owns the Health Spa, which is an integrative health clinic, literally just 30 minutes from where I live. And we're so lucky to have this wellness clinic so close to home. I just think we are so lucky. Most people, you have to drive to the city for something like that. And I just feel so blessed that it feels like it's just in my backyard. And so Stephanie owns the Health Spa among other businesses. And I have been watching Stephanie from afar for the last, 7 years. And she is just an expander in my life. She is a successful business owner. She also, I think, sets the bar high in the world of integrative health. I mean, if you want to look at somebody who practices what they preach, both as an entrepreneur and just somebody who prioritizes health and wellness, that's Stephanie Grutz, in my opinion. She also is extremely knowledgeable when it comes to the world of holistic health and wellness practices. I mean, she's like a guru in that niche, I would say. And so I feel so lucky that she agreed to come on the podcast. And I thought, she would be the perfect person to kick off 2025 with. So I'm going to let Stephanie do a little bit of a background stuff. Can you just, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, your businesses that you own, all that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Steph, that was sweet. Thank you. I feel humbled. I'm born and raised in Dubuque, Iowa. So, having the location in Piasta, it just made sense for me. This is where I wanted to raise my family. I really love being on the Mississippi, and being in the Midwest. It just feels like home. And you shouldn't have to go to a big city to receive holistic integrative care. A little bit about me. I have a 2.5-year-old. I got into this with my own health journey. I became a nurse in 2009. I became a nurse practitioner in 2014. And at that time, I was in a pivotal moment of my health. When I became a nurse, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. And then as a nurse practitioner, I was diagnosed with Crohn's. So it was like this thing that was coupling on top of everything. So I was in Western medicine. I was doing all of the Western medicine things, but I wasn't getting better. So that's when I was officially diagnosed, it's like, okay, how did this happen to begin with? And I started asking questions. Before that time, the 5+ years before that, I wouldn't say I was a victim to my health, but I would bring things to my doctors and they would just kind of shut it down. And I just finally reached this point in 2014 of I learned about what leaky gut was. I was like, that's everything that I have. And that's what made me start digging more and questioning everything that I was doing and realizing that Western medicine, which I'm board certified in, was only skimming the surface of what was really happening underneath. So that 2014 is when I went on my real, true, holistic healing journey. And it was physical, emotional, spiritual. And, I will say till this day, it was the spiritual part of my journey that really has brought me the most healing in my life. So I love talking about, I know today we'll probably touch on a lot of, mental, spiritual things. And that's what really gets me going, because that's where I feel the true money is. I'm trying to think. So in 2014, started as a nurse practitioner. 2015, I started working with an acupuncturist to get my foot in the door with integrative medicine. I had no idea what I was doing, but she kind of mentored me. And then 2016, I made the decision to quit my job that was successful and it was only growing. And this is again where like intuition and all that plays a role. Like I could have just kept climbing that corporate ladder, but I knew that I wasn't making a difference in the lives of the people I was serving. So I opened my own brick and mortar in Dubuque in 2016. And then I'd say the rest is history. I manifested law of attraction, some really amazing mentors in my life, Dr. Paul Anderson, Dr. Nasha Winters. There's so many really great names in this field that I was able to be really close to and that have given me the knowledge that I can gift to my patients. So I own the health spa. We do an IV nutritional therapy company. We have a lot of detoxing services housed under the roof. We own a supplement line called Select Balance. It was created in 2016 around the same time. I just knew that I wanted to have really pure ingredients in the supplements that I was taking and that I was suggesting to my family. And I realized that supplement industry is the wild, wild west. And as I say, if you know your farmer, you should know your supplement manufacturer, because the care and the quality that go into the ingredients and the third-party testing truly makes a difference. You want the best in your body. So we developed that. It gained a lot of popularity. We ship out 200 plus packages a week. I should say Kirsten, shout out to Kirsten.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the main part. And then I run the Healthy Practitioner, where we do have a podcast. I see patients. I do like group sessions now. I don't see patients one-on-one. And then I teach other practitioners how to open and run successful clinics as well.
And aren't you getting trained in integrative oncology, or are you officially trained in that?
I'm officially, yep, I'm certified. So Nasha Winters, one of my mentors, I started in 2020 doing a cohort with her. So it's these brilliant oncologists, radiologists, integrative practitioners around the world that are joining in to do a metabolic approach to cancer. So again, not just treating the tumor, treating the environment that the tumor was formed in. And that's really the pioneering ways of cancer healing in this current generation.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh, your resume is like overwhelming. It's amazing to hear all of this. I love it. So you mentioned something, and it really is perfect language for just getting into what I want to talk with you about today, which is the power of our thoughts and how our thoughts really have the ability to heal us, whether it be mentally, physically, you name it. But you mentioned at one point in time feeling like you were a victim to your health circumstances. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, myself included. When I got the autoimmune diagnosis myself, it was very much like, it's hard to not go into that, like, woe is me mindset. But if you know anything about mindset work, if you know anything about law of attraction, manifestation, you know that our thoughts literally have the ability to create our reality. And so, yes, it's human nature to go into that victim mindset, but you literally have to go against the grain of the sand. You literally have to make the conscious decision that just because everyone else chooses to think this way does not mean, just because we normalize it does not mean it's okay, does not mean it's for my greater good. So when you were in that headspace, did you make that conscious decision? Like, no, I'm not going to let myself think this way. Or was that a part of your journey at least?
Yeah, it was, again, when you first get diagnosed and you're in the Western medicine system, it's like, poor you, it's your bad genes. You know, I'd ask why did this happen? And they'd be like, oh, just bad luck. And it's like, oh man, it's bad luck. And I mean, I was 21 at the time. So, you know, I wasn't into any journey. I was just trying to figure out my own self, and then having a health diagnosis on top, which now as a 36-year-old, I understand that the Crohn's came to me as a separate entity to teach me lessons. And, but at that time it was like, okay, I am a victim to that. But in 2014, when I was at the hospital, I remember a pivotal moment. It was the first time I was hospitalized. It was the day before Christmas. I had a PICC line for a week. They let me just start eating food again. My stomach still felt horrible. They're like, you just need to go home on a liquid diet. And they gave me a bottle of Ensure. And I read the back of the ingredient list, and I was like, they're trying to kill me. Like, this is terrible. I wouldn't feed this to anybody. And I threw it in the garbage, and I'm like, all right, I'm on my own. This is my journey. And like, that was the moment where I'm like, I am empowered. And the quest from there, it just took off. And Bruce Lipton was a big mentor, game changer from afar. He wrote the book Biology of Belief. And he was the first person that really let me see the power of science connecting to emotion and spirit, science and spirit connecting. And that helped me because I was a very scientific brain. And he was talking about, he's a molecular biologist that would put cells in a petri dish, and he saw the environment change with people's thoughts. And so, I mean, it's just that work is what led me into everything I do.
That is amazing. So cool to hear that. I love the mix of the science with the woo-woo. I mean, I don't think it really is woo-woo. I just think people believe it's out there because they haven't experienced it yet. But I love that you experienced like that mix of those two. I think that's amazing. So you very much are aware, like, once you change your thoughts, that literally has the ability to change your reality. There was a time in my health journey where I was working with a Western medicine provider for my thyroid, and I was pretty big into manifestation already at that point in time. And I was doing the daily affirmations, doing the daily gratitude, visualizing having good health, what all that felt like for my hormones to be balanced, all the things, right? And so prior to this appointment that I went to, I was told by my thyroid practitioner that, you're going to need your thyroid taken out. It's going to have to happen. But I asked her if you could just give me 6 months to work with this integrative health practitioner just to see what she can do for me. She has this holistic perspective, and she's like, sure, I'll give you 6 months, but after that, surgery has to happen. And then when I went up for our 6-month follow-up, she literally walked in the room and was like, I have nothing to say. Like, I'm blown away at your labs. I have no idea what happened, but they look completely different from how they looked 6 months ago. And I have no idea what this is connected to. And I was like, I manifested the shit out of that. Mm-hmm. Like, I made environmental changes. I changed products I was using. I got rid of toxic products in my house and in my routine and all the things. And she didn't believe it. And she literally was like, well, I don't know if that's the reason, and it's like, oh my gosh, really? Like, you still doubt it? But yeah, she had no explanation. And it's like, that was the first time I walked out of that appointment and I told my husband, like, I manifested this. All of the work I've been doing, this is why. And I still ended up having to have surgery 3 months later. But the point of that story isn't that it didn't pan out. The point is that when you keep your thoughts focused and you stay in that high vibe state, your thoughts literally have the ability to create your reality. And so when we're looking, from your perspective on the physical integrative health world and my perspective from the mental health world, when we're looking at patients or clients that we work with who maybe are battling a severe mental health diagnosis, or maybe are battling cancer, or whatever it may be, how can you not incorporate mindset work into that? You have to, right? Like, you can't just look at their physical health diagnosis and not talk about, well, what's your mindset like, right? Yeah. So what does that look like for you? Like, how do you incorporate that into your world?
Well, I'll first say from like what you're talking about, you know, thoughts affect our reality on a scientific plane. It's not just the thought, it's the thoughts actually deploy neurochemical changes in our body. It affects our adrenal glands, which affect our energy, our blood pressure, our inflammation in our body. And so that neurochemistry affects our neurotransmitters, which affects our thyroid function and our sex hormones. Like our thoughts truly do affect our reality on that simple scientific plane. And then we get into the more of like the actually thinking about the future and like manifesting that thought. But anyways, it's really affected. At first, when I started out, I was young and naive and like, I just really wanted to fix the physical stuff. But now, I treat a lot of oncology patients and work with them, and it's just part of the protocol. And even with women that are, struggling with hormone balancing, like looking at their past traumas and all of that, it's like, okay, these physical ailments are secondary to some trigger that's holding you back in your life. And so I incorporate ketamine therapy in my practice. And that has been something that I've been doing since 2019. And that has been a huge game changer for a lot of my patients. The ketamine, it acts as it reconnects neurosynapses in the body. It helps people get through their deep traumas. Like even if they don't realize that they have them, it will take them to that area. It's creating neuroplasticity in the brain. Wow. You've probably heard of that a lot. I mean, neuroplasticity is something that is being talked about a lot. Psychedelics do that. Ketamine is in that category of psychedelic type realm where it's legal to do. People hear all of these false, scary stories from people that aren't in the world, but we create a safe, sacred space for people to do it. It's at low doses. It's monitored. We either do it by infusion most of the time. Sometimes we do it by injection. Sometimes we incorporate Reiki during the session, but we're doing this in like a sacred space for people to really get to that level of healing.
It's amazing. It's a beautiful thing. It's definitely on my to-do list for 2025 is to experience that. So what you recommend for people, and actually speaking of ketamine, I did a little bit of research after you mentioned it to me the first time. So it literally, in the mental health world, it has the ability, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it has the ability to rewire neurons in the brain that are causing the depression, the anxiety. I mean, we're talking like it literally gets to the root cause for those specific diagnoses anyways. I don't know if that's for all or not, but like that's freaking powerful. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah. Anxiety, depression, PTSD, complex chronic pain. There's so many implications for it. And even since 2019, I've also evolved with that. And I realize I typically have my patients do like QNRT therapy or something that's quantum neural reset. A chiropractor does it down the road, but they're doing complementary therapies to really keep setting their brain. So it's not just like a one time and done. It's like, okay, what can we do to really make this stick so that they're forever, like, let's say their baseline's here, we get you here, and so it's just such a great transformation.
That's amazing. That's very cool. Highly recommend that. I haven't even tried it yet, but I'm already recommending it to clients that I see. Like I'm telling them like, I'm going to experience it, but like, just if you're even curious, just call, just set something up. It sounds so powerful. And if we're talking about helping people at that root cause, that's where it's at, I feel. And it's like you said, it's in a safe environment. It's a controlled environment. Totally. I think that's amazing.
If you are short or petite in any way, then listen up. This ad is for you. Did you know that nearly half of all women in the US are 5'4" or under, therefore considered petite? Being petite should not mean compromising on your style. For years, I shopped in the children's section at certain stores just to be able to find clothes that fit me somewhat decently without needing to be hemmed or altered. Even when I did shop in the adult section, it was always difficult to find clothes that came in extra small or even worse, extra, extra small. The only way to find petite clothes was for me to order online. But that meant not being able to try them on or know if they fit correctly or not. When I finally did find some loyal companies that actually sold my sizes, I still almost always needed alterations to be done. Either the arms were too long, the pants were too long, or the waist was still wider than I'd like. I felt like I was not asking for too much to be able to have clothes that fit me to a T without needing to spend extra money getting clothes altered. Due to the poor fit in clothes, I had grown to hate shopping. Seriously, you guys, I never looked forward to it, especially knowing I wasn't going to find something that fit me just right. This frustration led me to researching style boxes in hopes that maybe, just maybe, I could find a style box to accommodate my petite size. Initially, I hit dead end after dead end. Either they didn't offer petite options or they didn't go down to extra small in sizes, which is what I needed. All my prayers were answered one day when I stumbled upon a closed subscription box called Short Story. Short Story's mission is to help petite women dress with total confidence. They acknowledge that fashion has never been petite friendly, and they are completely rewriting the rules. Amazing, right? They have clothes for petites of all sizes, all heights, and all shapes. Even better, they get their inspiration directly from their buyers, people like you and me who subscribe to them. They literally create and design their clothing lines using our specific feedback. How freaking amazing is that, you guys? There's so much I love about Short Story, but I'll keep it short and sweet so you can get back to the show. First things first, you can order boxes monthly, bi-monthly, every 3 months. You can personalize it to your own specific shopping needs, which is awesome. No more ordering online, going into stores. I get my box monthly and it always comes with 7 items. I would say on average, I keep anywhere from 4 to 6 of the items depending on the month. And another added benefit, when I started, I took their styling quiz and gave them my specific measurements for my entire body. We're talking bust, waist, height, arm length, etc., which means no more alterations. Everything fits my arms, my legs, all of it. It's like, I don't know, I feel like I have my own personal stylist. It makes me feel like a freaking rock star. And after each box, I'm able to give my stylist feedback on the item she sent and requests that I have for future boxes. So I'm always getting my fashion needs met depending on what time of year we're in and what I'm looking for and what events I might have coming up. I am always satisfied too, because it's pretty rare for my request to not be granted, not gonna lie. Finally, when you fill out your styling quiz in the beginning, you get to tell them your price point, what you can and can't afford, what style you prefer, what you like, what you don't like when it comes to clothing, and you can give them access to your Pinterest style board, which, truth be told, best thing I ever did for myself. I literally have manifested my Pinterest style board in real life, you guys, because they look at it each month, and if I pin new items to it, they'll try and send me items that I've pinned or close to it. Talk about an added bonus. It's just amazing. So seriously, I feel like I've bragged enough. I'm sure you get the point by now. Short Story is for petites of all ages, all sizes. If you are 5'4" and under, this is the subscription box for you. No more shopping in stores. Let your clothes come directly to you. Hopefully, this will then save you time. I know we all need more of that, and money in the long run. I wouldn't be recommending a company that I myself don't strongly support and believe in personally. I have been a loyal subscriber of Short Story for over 6 years now, and I am so proud of it. Be honest. If you are short or petite like me, wouldn't you love to show up at professional events or family gatherings feeling confident in what you're wearing, knowing that it came tailored to your specific fashion needs? If you're intrigued at all, go into my show notes for today's episode and use the referral link that I put in there. This link will waive your $25 styling fee for your first box. If you are anything like me and you're ready to up-level your style, show up as that next level version of yourself, and feel like $1,000,000, then subscribe to Short Story today. I promise you will not regret it. All links will be in my show notes for today's episode.
Okay, so we were talking earlier about how our thoughts that we think literally can create a healed reality. But what I want to clarify for listeners is that it's not just those thoughts that you think once in a blue moon. It's not those random thoughts that pop in your head like once a day. It's those consistent thoughts that you think day in and day out. And that's something that I am consistently preaching to clients. It's like, you think that if you tell yourself daily that you're living in fear, that you're chronically ill, that you're an anxious person, whatever the diagnosis is, that those thoughts, one, they become your identity, and your identity is stored in your subconscious. And two, those thoughts, if they become habitual like that, it's something you're telling yourself daily, that of course is going to be your lived reality. I mean, one, you're taking that identity subconsciously, and when we identify as something, it of course becomes your lived reality. But then your thoughts and your brain literally looks for evidence to prove that diagnosis to be true. So when we're talking about healing someone, whether it be mentally or physically, I feel you have to talk about, like, yes, you have this diagnosis. However, Stephanie doesn't equal an anxious person. Stephanie doesn't equal a chronically ill person. Yes, you're experiencing this illness, but it doesn't equate to who you are as a person. It is not your identity. And I think that's a huge piece of the puzzle. I preach it to damn near every client I work with, because it's so important. One, I won't tell clients what I'm diagnosing them with, because I don't think it helps them in my healing journey with them. But two, like, you have to have that conversation about how that diagnosis is not who you are. And that's something I learned through my own fertility journey. I think we see women all the time. I mean, hello, the fertility, I hate the word infertility, but like, it's a pandemic now. I mean, it has become that big of a deal. But I think it's really frustrating when, and I mean this with the most compassion, because I'm going through this fertility journey myself, but infertility is not my identity. Like, I am not an infertile woman. I don't care what science says. It's so important to not let that diagnosis define who you are as a person. And I think that's really hard in the physical health world, in the world that you live and work in, because when you're seeing and dealing with and feeling those physical ailments and symptoms day in and day out, it's like the reminder is in your face every day. How do you not carry that identity as a sick person? But then again, that starts the cycle of like those thoughts every day, and that's your lived reality.
Yeah, and I think you're making some good points of, there's also a thing to like the healing crisis. So let's say your autoimmune disease gets reversed, or your chronic ailment is gone, or your cancer is gone. There's some form of you that was relying on that for safety. And that is something that we don't talk about enough in this world, so that when you are healing from it, you have to change your identity of who you are. And that's very scary. And so like, realize the recognition is always the most important tool to healing, because if you can recognize you're in a pattern, then you can stop it from happening. So to me, that's like the biggest thing that we don't talk about is you want to be healthy. You don't want to live with X, Y, and Z, but at the same time, there's a certain sense of safety in that, whether you feel cared for or something, there's something you're relying on. So you have to get rid of that. And that is what I think is the most challenging but pivotal part of healing.
I agree. Yeah. And that safety could be, intergenerational trauma. That safety could, like you said, like you're being cared for, and you literally have to resend the message, a new belief system to your brain, to your subconscious part of your mind, that no, it's actually safe to believe that I'm healthy. I can feel safe to be and feel healthy. And that's what the new story needs to be. Yeah, that makes complete sense.
I'll say with that, with my own personal journey, I realized after like the start of when I was hospitalized for the first time, I was hospitalized a lot, and I spent a lot of days in the hospital with severe Crohn's. I've had 3 ostomies. I've had multiple surgical resections, like in that journey time. And what I realized one day many years ago was like, oh my gosh, like my body is producing a state of flare to like hospitalize me so that I don't have to be in the pressures of the outside world. Like I was always I would allow for everybody to come at me and take everything from me. And when you have an autoimmune disease or something that you're working through, you don't have a lot to give people in general and like in terms of energy. So I wouldn't protect myself. And so I found that my subconscious, like I was getting sick and I was getting hospitalized so that the outside world couldn't get to me. That was like the only safe place I could be, because nobody would want to bother me when I was in a hospital, but if it was anywhere else, they would. So I was like, oh my gosh, that's really messed up. Like, that's not a way to live. I'm like, I would rather take $15,000 trips to Hawaii than to be here every time. So, there was that big like thought of like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this to myself. And luckily, like, again, being able to catch that was something that was happening subconsciously, then I could say, okay, Steph, you are much older now. You have so many more tools in your toolbox, so you can do these things to protect your energy. You don't have to be hospitalized for that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that also makes me think, when you go through a journey like your own and, like my fertility journey, I think it's so easy when you learn about environmental toxins. It's so easy to then adopt these beliefs that like, oh, my home is not healthy. My home is not safe from these toxins. Where I go to work is not safe from these toxins. I mean, like, that is I've never really thought about it since you said that, but like, that can be so detrimental. I mean, yes, there's toxins all around us, but like, you can't live your life in fear either. I mean, that really contradicts the whole process of wanting to heal yourself.
Yeah.
You can't live in fear. There's toxins everywhere you go, but you have to focus on what you have control over, which is your thoughts. Mm-hmm. And you can't get so hyper focused on toxins or no toxins. You can't get so hyper focused living in fear of those toxins, I feel.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah. I feel like you just make proactive choices to not choose to like, you can make choices every day that either, I always talk about our immune system as a cup, and filling up the cup with toxins or decreasing the toxin load in the body. And it's really easy to make simple changes so that your body isn't getting burdened with fake plugins, with fake scents and chemicals and toxins and mold. But yeah, there's the point of that versus there's this person on Instagram that she tests like every healthy food for lead. And typically if it's like chocolate or something, cacao comes from the earth. Like there's always heavy metals associated with minerals in these type of foods, and typically small amounts. But it was to that point where I was following her and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's making a comparison that like a fake dye altered Hershey's bar would be better than eating an organic bar because of like a lead level. And I'm like, that's just not healthy. Like you're making people so confused, and we're already confused enough. Mm-hmm. We get contraindicated knowledge every single day from top experts, even in the integrative field, there's contraindications. And so people are like, who the heck am I supposed to listen to?
Right.
And that's where, we're talking today is like getting your body and mind as clear as possible, as clean as possible, so that you are the one you're listening to, so that you can discern the facts that are coming in and really like focusing on this intuitively feels like the right answer for my body.
Yeah. I like that. So you recently went to a Joe Dispenza conference, right? So what would you say was one of your biggest takeaways from that? I mean, I'm sure there's like 15 million, but what's some of the big takeaways? Like when we're talking about thoughts, law of attraction, manifestation, I mean, you just had to feel so inundated. And was it 4 days that you were there? 7? No way. Oh my gosh. I was thinking you were at a 4-day conference just recently.
It was a 7-day advanced meditation retreat. So we started on Sunday, we ended on Saturday, and we meditated 3 times a day, all different types of meditation, mostly sitting. There's walking meditations, which really, if you ever want to be in your power, you can purchase Joe Dispenza meditations on his website, but like purchase a walking meditation and do that. And people will think you're crazy walking on your road because you'll just be like powering through, like, it's so fun. It was wild, but it was just the most pivotal thing in that was his words. Do you believe the thoughts affect your reality? And I'm like, heck yeah, that's what I preach every day. And then he's like, well, then why wouldn't you show up every day acting like that? And I'm like, oh my gosh. So it really hit home to me because as a busy business owner with a 2.5-year-old, I always kind of prioritized my sleep. If I got sleep, I'm like, I don't want to get up and meditate. I don't want to. But he's like, if you're a golfer, you're looking at the ball, you're visualizing where that ball is going to go, and then you step up to the ball and you hit it. So you're in your thinking box, and then you go into your play box. Why wouldn't you do that every single day in life? Mm-hmm. So that was something that really turned me on. It's been 2 months and I've not missed a day of meditation.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. And I mean, these meditations are 45 to 65 minutes. I mean, they're not,
wow.
They're in depth. They're in the morning. I wake up at 5:30 or 5:45 every morning. Sometimes Lainey's in there. Sometimes she wants to meditate with me, and I make it flexible, but I make sure that I make that time of thinking about how I'm going to set my day up. I typically do a guided meditation with Joe to do that. I'm lucky that in my early 20s, I had a spiritual mentor that really helped me set the stage for this experience today of knowing how to sit on a mat, how to meditate, how to get silent with my body. And it was such a great experience. I'd recommend it to anybody that is curious about doing it.
Yeah, I definitely looked it up while you were there. And I mean, it's intriguing. I mean, everything he preaches, it's amazing. All of it. It's
all science. It's everything he does. Like I was in a research trial when I went there. There was hundreds of people, like everybody that goes to these things. There's 2,000 people that attend. Typically when he opens, there may be once a month, 2,000 people, $2,500. It's not a cheap event, but they sell out within like 30 minutes. I mean,
I bet
people, it's really exciting to me because there was 85% of the people that were there have never been to one before. And so to me, it's just like all of these people are earning for this like knowledge, and they're waking up and they want this. So it's really cool to be able to back it by science and do something that's really good for our bodies.
I agree. And that's good to hear that like 85% are people that haven't been before, because we need more and more people to come to this awareness that yes, there's so many people that carry the limiting belief that I can't control my thoughts, that I have intrusive automatic thoughts, which sends the message that intrusive and automatic sends the message that you can't control them. But that is such a limiting belief, because you actually can. It's just that you bought into this belief that you can't. And so again, it's just changing the beliefs that you hold in your subconscious. But when you finally experience, wow, that's how powerful my thoughts are, then it's like, that's all it takes is just one experience of like, I thought that, and then it came to life. And then you literally buy into it. And then you start to make those changes day by day, hour by hour of like, no, I don't want to think this way. I deny that thought. What's a thought I do want to believe? And you're just doing that. And then in the beginning, it's a little more conscious effort, but over time, it just becomes this automatic thing that you do and you don't even think about it. Like that's now how you think. And that's what my lived reality has been. Like, yes, in the beginning, it took a lot of conscious effort to decide what beliefs I do want to live by. But now it's like, I don't even think about it. I deny negative thoughts when they're in my like aura. But in general, like, no, there's no room for lack mindset. There's no room for negative thinking. I'm not like a toxic positive person by any means. I still let myself feel the feels, but I don't let myself think in terms of lack or negativity, because I don't want that to be my lived reality. And it doesn't mean bad things won't happen, but I'm telling you, when they do, I'm very much like, I can get through this. I've been through harder. It will be okay. Like I feel the feelings.
I was going to say, and you have more tools to like handle those. Like it's something that is quote unquote bad is really like a challenge or an opportunity for you to grow. Whereas like if you're in the victim state, it's like, oh, this is happening to me again. And you will see, you have some of those people in your life that their car breaks down. This like 13 things bad happen to them. Like every other day, you're like, Jesus, how does that happen to those people? It really is their vibration matching that frequency in their life. So again, when everybody has challenges, I mean, to be a soul on this earth right now is we're here to learn lessons.
Yeah.
So we're going to have challenges, but it's like we get to come at that from a victim standpoint or an empowered standpoint where it's like, this is happening for me. It's never happening to me. It's always happening for me. And what am I going to do about it?
Yes.
So if we can switch, if we can make little changes like that every day, beautiful things happen.
Yes. Just that shift, what you just said. Things are not happening at me, to me. They're happening for our greater good. Everything, whether it's a cancer diagnosis, a car accident, I broke my neck in 2016, like it all happens for our greater good. And you might not be able to see it in the moment, but I guarantee a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you will look back and be like, oh my gosh, it really was for my greater good. 100%. Yes. But that's how like you said, you have to choose to look at the world that way. And it is a conscious choice. You don't have to choose to look at the world through this victim mindset. Woe is me. Can't avoid bad. It's all around us. Really, it's not. It's all what you choose to focus on. So if somebody is like, okay, Stephanie, okay, I hear what you're saying. Yes, I have control over my thoughts, but I don't feel I'm in a high vibe state very often. What advice would you give someone to like help them get into a high vibe state? What would be your recommendations?
Turn off the TV if you watch the news. Like turn that off. Like that's the fastest way to be in a low vibrational state.
Yep, preach.
If it's in the background, no, turn that stuff off. And Instagram, if you're a scroller, look at your feed. And if your feed is a bunch of negative people that are always having stuff go wrong with them, or they're always complaining about something, or they're political, like because political is always, again, like us versus them, that's low vibration. If it is that, create a new account and start following happy people or delete all those people. Like do one or the other. In 2020, I had an Instagram page. It's Stephanie Grutz now, but it was the Healthy Practitioner. And I was talking out about the stuff that didn't make sense to me in COVID time. And it got a lot of attraction from a lot of people. I grew to 25,000 followers. And, but I also was going down deep rabbit holes at that time, and it was dark. And so when I go, luckily Instagram like took away, they stopped letting me post, and they were doing all of these banning things because I was speaking truth.
Yes.
And they started removing followers. And anyways, I was like, I don't even want this frequency. So I created another account, which is now the Healthy Practitioner. But when I go over, it's like my alter ego account.
Yeah.
I was here to post. I will know that I'm on that one because I'll see all of these like conspiracy, like just these dark black. I'm like, oh, I don't even like looking at that anymore. I want to be over here in the good stuff. So, I mean, do an audit of your social media for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I remember, it's so crazy that you mentioned that. I remember the night that you posted about that account being shut down, and it was on this other account. And I was laying in bed and I told my husband, like, can you believe that they shut down Stephanie Grutz's page? Like, they have no idea what they're talking. I was so revved up about it. That's so funny. But yeah, I get why you're saying that, but all because you were speaking truth. But it can go down a pretty nasty rabbit hole too. You're right.
It was. Yeah. I mean, even when you're like trying to like speak your truth, like I have the option and opportunity here. Like I do things against the grain, right? I joke that I created my buildings built out of my building. I opened a year ago, and it's a 6,000 square foot facility. It's very beautiful. It's built out of concrete. And I joked like I built it out of concrete because I wanted to keep the people out of here that didn't belong in here. And that's been my mentality is like, I don't associate myself with the people that don't believe like that. I'm not a sounding board for my own stuff. I'd like to look at other versions, but if someone really doesn't even want to give it time, then it's okay. It's not for them. And I don't want them here because I don't want that energy in this space. This space is truly meant to be a healing space. So that's even my own world. I choose to surround myself with people that are like-minded, that are lifting me up, that are going places that, you hear Darren Hardy from the Success magazine. I followed him since I was like 19 years old. He's not there anymore, but I had those little CDs that you'd put in your car, and I listened to Success magazine. And he would talk about you're the five most, you're the accumulation of the 5 people that you spend the most time with.
Yes.
Do your 5-person inventory. Who is that for you? Are they people that are happy? Are they posting negative stuff online all the time? Like, who are they? And if they're not in like the sphere that you want to be in, get new people in your circle.
Yes, I completely agree. In the last year, I shifted my circle, and you guys, like, that's powerful stuff. I can't preach that enough. Once I started surrounding myself with other dreamers, with other healers, with other spiritual people that are into the woo, it's like, holy shit, my life changed, and I am so much happier because of it. And it doesn't mean I, took those other people out of my life. I'm just way more particular about when I spend time with them. And I'm way more particular about the amount of time I'll spend around them. And if I'm going to spend time with people like that and I can't control it, I make sure it's an environment where I get to choose when I walk away. Like, that's what you have to do, is you're just making more conscious decisions about who your support system looks like. And again, that is something you have control over, just like your thoughts. You get to control who you spend your life around. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, some people might not like that, but you're living your life for you, nobody else. Yes. So I fully believe that.
You are rising, like, you're talking about frequency and energy and all
yes.
that. You are showing up each day as a better person of yourself. Yeah. Then it will ripple to those people as well. At some point, it will start with your family unit, yourself, your family unit, and then it will take its ripples out. So it's like, what can I do every single day to just be 1% happier, or, find that joy? I always, one of the pivotal moments of my business life was like, does this bring me joy? And asking that question, whether it be going to an event, whether it be bringing on a service, whether it be wearing one of the million hats that you wear as a small business owner. It was like, is that bringing me joy? And if it wasn't, then I made a pivot to get rid of it. I knew that one-on-one patients, it wasn't bringing me joy. It was a lot of energy that my body has a hard time protecting my nervous system against. So I made the choice to do events, and they bring me life and joy, and I'm still helping so many people. Yeah, and it was that pivot. So it's like, just because you're closing a door to something doesn't mean that something more beautiful can open. And it has. It's been such a great shift. So there's, again, finding your joy is a really great tool as well.
Yeah. And to those people who maybe would say like, okay, yeah, I can focus on the joy and focus on cultivating more of that. However, what do I do if I live with someone who's low vibe, or if I live with someone who just chooses to live in that negative headspace? My response to that is very similar to like what you're saying. It's, yes, you can't control other people and whether they choose to walk this journey or not, but you walking this journey will impact their healing journey as well. It will impact their mindset. When I started this mindset work, my husband was in a very different place than me, but he has really transpired as well. I mean, he has come a long ways in the mindset work, and he now, when we speak something into existence, he will now say like, oh, I guess he manifested that. And it's like, fuck yes, I did. Like, you aren't kidding, because he now sees the power in our thoughts too. And, I try to not like coach him like I would a client, but there's times when he will be so hard on himself, and I will be like, will you please be nice to my husband? There is no room for talking mean about him here. There is no room for that. And yeah, that stuff gets old, and I'm sure he gets tired of hearing it, but listen, like, it's getting in there because I'm seeing how it's helping. I wouldn't say I'm nagging or anything like that, but just sometimes I'll just throw some comments out there, and I know he's taking it in. And whether it's your kids, your spouse, your parents, whatever, like, they're taking in what you're saying. So if you're modeling this, if you're practicing what you're preaching, people are going to pick up on it. And in general, like, you're raising your vibe. So it will impact the vibe of others, maybe slowly in the beginning, but eventually I believe it will. And Yeah.
I think with that too, which we could have a whole podcast on couples, I feel like you have a really strong foundation, and I do too. And I attribute that to a lot of my success is a strong partner of 17, almost 18 years. And, again, 18 years, right? When I was 19, I was way different. It was before my disease diagnosis, before I woke up. Like, I was a totally different human. So it's so beautiful to watch us both grow and learn from each other and allow each other our independence and want each other to grow in our own ways and not like try to keep people down. And I see that happening with a lot of couples. Like, there's, again, a scarcity victim mindset, and to see you raising your vibration, then it's like, we don't like that. We want you to stay down here with us because we like to be miserable. And so you can tolerate that for a certain amount of time and you can keep working, but then you get to a point where it's like, you have to make that critical decision. Like, are they going to change? And if they're not, then you might have to, again, change your circle of your 5 most important people to someone else if it's not going to work.
I agree. Like, I know his journey is his journey and mine is mine, but like, I can't love you and not encourage you to think the best about yourself. So yeah, I think sometimes it does involve some hard conversations, but my marriage is so much more stronger because of this work as well. So there's no bad things I feel that can come from that. Real quick, this is something I wanted to bring up earlier, and a few fun facts about the health spa that I think is important for listeners to know. One has nothing to do with, not nothing, but so Stephanie, when you were planning the building of the health spa, you intentionally had them put crystals, right? In the concrete, right?
Yeah. So, before the foundation was laid, I came out here. Oh my God. I remember it was so muddy one day. So they were going to pour it, but they had the foundation up, just not cement poured. And I came out with a whole bunch of mini crystals.
Cool.
And just scattered them with happy intentions throughout the whole building.
Oh,
they laid down it was so funny. My shoes, like, I kept them outside for like 3 years because they were so coated with mud. But then when they were pouring the cement in the rooms, our friend is the one that poured the cement, and I got a whole bunch of crystals from a shop, and they all meant something. And so I had each like a crystal lined up in the outline of the blueprint of the place. And we left him a cooler with a beer because I actually had surgery that day. Oh. And we left him a cooler with beer, and we're like, hey, can you please put these in these spots? So it's funny to see where they ended up. Some of them were great and some weren't, but then they polished up. And so, so each room typically has some sort of crystal somewhere. And it was just about bringing, again, we wanted to have healing energy throughout this place.
Yeah. And that's one of the many intentional things you put into the health spa. Another really cool fun fact is, so part of what is incorporated at the health spa is the IV services. It was kind of like what your initial business was Vibe IV. But so in the IV room, when you get any of their IV services, there are affirmations written on the IV bag. So, we're sitting here and we're talking about the power of our thoughts. You're literally, if you're an IV patient, you're getting that reminder right there in front of you. Like, be intentional about the thoughts you're thinking right there as you're getting the IV. What a great little nudge for your patients. I just think that's amazing.
Yeah, this place really, like, there's everything in here was a labor of love, and all the non-toxic, all of that. But even my staff is so intentional, and they're so, like, again, we can talk about manifesting, but like, this is, I know who should be here. And water is the most imprintable source that we have. And so think about it. If you have some grumpy old person, I shouldn't say old, grumpy anybody coming in, and they're shooting up your bag, and they're just, dang it, I had a bad day and I hate my job. And they're putting that into your bag. It is affecting your cells on some cellular level. Yeah. You hear about the studies where they show people talking to a plant with good affirmations, and they show it talking to the plant with bad affirmations, and you see the one thriving and the one dying. It's the same thing with water. Like, we have these. And you watch the videos online where they show the water crystals getting frozen, and there's different thoughts that are getting infused into it, and they freeze differently depending on what thought is being thunk. And so there's that. So like having the intention of just putting healing, high quality ingredients into a bag is one thing. And then yes, the intention that's on the bag to be infused into it and to be infused into your mind as you're getting your infusion.
Yeah. Gosh, I love all of that. There's so much intentionality that you put behind this business. But then I love how you talked about just in general being intentional about going into the healing journey. Like, yeah, it can really suck if you're going in there for cancer treatment, but you're surrounded by staff who are also intentional, who also are high vibing. And that really can, I mean, I just feel like when you walk in there, it is a high vibing place. I mean, one, you're barefoot, so you're grounded, but it doesn't matter what service you're there to do. It is such a high vibe feeling when you're there. And so think about it. If you're there because you're trying to heal your body, you can't not be in that high vibe state of mind. And if you're in a high vibe state of mind and you're telling yourself healing thoughts, your body, scientifically, your body's going to respond to that. Mm-hmm. And then if you can not just do it when you're there, but do it even the days you're not there, it's going to be so powerful.
Yeah. It's like tools here, and people, I mean, you don't know how many times I've heard people feel like this is a safe space for them is what they say. And that's what we've always wanted to create. So yeah, when people come in here for oncology treatments, like they aren't sad. Like they are excited to be receiving a therapy that can help them. Yeah. And they're talking to people that really care for them, that are hearing them, and like things that they don't often get outside of the doors sometimes. So yeah, that's the space that we've intentionally created for sure here. And it takes the whole village. Everybody that is here does such a good job of doing that for our patients.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm so proud when somebody asks like, oh, where do you doctor at? Like I can officially say like, oh, my primary care provider's at the health spa now. And it is I take pride in that. Like, yeah, I don't go to a Western medicine clinic anymore, and it does serve a purpose. I'm not saying it doesn't, but it just feels so good to be able to say that. And so, yeah, you guys, I don't think we can say this enough, but if you truly buy into what we're saying, that your thoughts have the ability to create your reality. If this is something you want to talk more about, DM one of us. Like I seriously could talk about this all day. So feel free to DM me. I love talking about this, but also this isn't something to buy into. Okay. Like this is fact. This is scientific law. You know, when we say like the law of attraction or the law of detachment or whatever law you want to talk about and throw out there, it's a scientific law, as in it's been proven. Okay, these aren't like woo-woo topics that we're talking about. There's actual scientific evidence that prove these things to be true, that what you consistently think about day in and day out actually has the ability to turn into your lived reality. Mm-hmm. There is actual evidence proving this. So I'm not asking you to buy into it. I'm telling you like it's a real thing. It's happening in your life as we speak. So if this is something you want to dive more into, please reach out to me. I would love to talk about this. And before we wrap up, Stephanie, is there anything like in the near future, in the upcoming year, now that it's 2025, that you want to share with listeners? Any events? Are you rolling out another cohort for the hormone program or anything?
Thank you. Well, first, I want to say, I know we didn't get to talking about law of attraction, but I want to say, because this is another tool that we can use, because I don't know if you're familiar with Anina Moriani. She's someone that had like tumors, stage 4 cancer, tumors all over her body. She was in the ER. They were giving her last rites, and she had a near-death experience. And anyways, when she had her experience, whoever came to her at that point was like, you have stuff, you got to get back, you got to get done. So she came back into her body. Within like 4 weeks, her cancer was gone from every single place of her body. So I got to see her and Bruce Lipton together in Sedona a few years ago. And I asked them a question, and I was like, I'm so good at manifesting everything in my life except for my health. I'm still struggling with that piece. And she's like, that's because you're not manifesting from a place of joy.
Oh,
You have joy when you manifest money, right? And I'm like, yeah, I always have. I made it ever since I was a sophomore in high school. I made money like a game and I had so much fun doing it. And she's like, that's easy to you. But your health, you're not manifesting from joy, you're manifesting from fear, and you can't manifest from fear. So it was like, you have to, in order to manifest, you have to change your mindset. You have to be in a place of happiness and healing. So anyways, if people are getting stuck, like, you can't just be there and be like, I just want this. Like, you can't demand it. It has to be Joe Dispenza talks about this too. It's like, it has to be a frequency that is in you already. So you have to match that frequency of healing and health. You can't just blurt out words. I want to be this and this. No, you have to match that frequency. So anyways, finding curiosity. If a symptom comes up, if you have a physical thing and like symptom comes up and you typically go to fear. I know that I used to do that with Crohn's, like any bellyache, what's happening. But now I come at it with curiosity. I'm like, that's interesting that sensation's happening in my body. Yeah. And so being able to just change your thoughts in that way, it can be really helpful.
I agree. Yeah. I feel that at my core, yes, it's the power behind manifesting when you're in a place of joy is, I mean, you manifest things that much more quickly. It is so crazy. And I think, that's a message that keeps coming to me through some of my recent channeling sessions. It's very much like cultivate joy, cultivate contentment. And so that's my focus this Christmas season has been like, just focus on the joy, day-to-day joy, what brings me joy. And manifesting that happens so much more quickly. I will definitely say that when you're in that kind of a headspace. And if you're struggling to cultivate joy, start with gratitude, because gratitude can't not bring you into a headspace of joy. I mean, it can't not. Gratitude is the highest vibrational thought you can have. So if you're struggling to cultivate it in your life, then force your thoughts to focus on gratitude, and it will just be a byproduct of that. Joy will be.
So good. Yes.
Love it.
And as you said, Harmony Within is my hormone reset for women, and the next one is in March. So I do that. I do oncology resets. In February, I have a long haul COVID reset. So you'll find, if you go to thehealthspa.com, you can go to the event section and it will say any of the upcoming classes. The Harmony Within typically sells out. It's a very popular program. So that's one I definitely recommend. You come in and you get, for all of them, you come for a day and you get spoiled with all of the health spa services, and then you get your own personalized lab report and report with me as well.
Yeah, I have friends that have done it. It is highly recommended. So definitely, I'll put the links in the show notes, but definitely check that out. Before we wrap things up, I do want to end with some rapid fire questions. None of these are too difficult, but what is one mantra or affirmation that you live by?
They are difficult.
I mean, I'm sure there's many. So let's be
everything
honest.
is figure outable.
Love. Yes. There's nothing that there is not an answer to. Truly. Yes. What's a small habit or ritual that makes you feel like that next level version of yourself?
In my meditation practice in the morning. It's key.
Yes. I relate to that very strongly. Yes. Who is someone who inspires you to be your most authentic self?
Alex, my partner.
I knew you were going to say that.
There's a lot of mentors that I have in my life, but he's always the one that keeps me centered and grounded.
Oh, yeah. I love that. What's a non-negotiable self-care practice in your week? I mean, you mentioned meditation, but...
Yeah, that's one. A healing Epsom bath, non-negotiable. It's at least once a week.
I love that. And then what's a dream destination that's on your vision board?
Ooh, that's interesting. So many. I love traveling. Thailand is somewhere I really want to go.
Oh, that's cool. I wasn't expecting that. Love it.
It's on the list. Now I have a 2.5-year-old. I have to figure out, she's going to go with us. I got to figure out how to make that happen and keep the adventures alive. So
yeah, you guys are good about how you travel though. I mean, it's impressive watching your stories and seeing how you make it work. So good for you. I love that goal.
Yeah.
Stephanie, I'm so appreciative that you said yes to this invite. I mean, there's so many rabbit holes we could have gone down. I try to keep these collabs to 1 hour, but there's so much knowledge that you have that I feel needs to be shared with the world. And so I just really appreciate you agreeing to come on to kick off 2025. Thank you so much for that. Like I mentioned before, to all of you listeners, if there's anything that just really strongly resonated with you today, first of all, check out the Health Spa, go on their website, call, ask any questions you have. It's an amazing place. If you're even curious about the integrative health world, start there, because I guarantee you'll get your questions answered. I guarantee you will be so grateful to kick off your health journey by going there, especially if you're local to Eastern Iowa. Even if you're not, I mean, you have people that drive from Wisconsin, from all over. So
yes.
Yeah.
We have a location in Cedar Rapids as well. So
yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So check it out if you haven't yet. It's an amazing place. We need to support it because we need more places like this around. So please send your children there, send your spouse there, go there yourself. You will not regret it. Stephanie, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's an honor. Happy 2025. I'm looking forward to this year.
Me too. All right, guys, until next week, I'll talk to you later.
Real quick before you go, I just want to thank you so much for spending a little time with me today. And congratulations on showing up for you. Every step you take to invest in yourself brings you that much closer to your next level self, and I'm so proud of you. If you loved this episode, share it with someone who could use a little inspiration, or take a screenshot and tag me on socials so we can keep spreading the next level you energy. Thanks again for tuning in, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode. Let's freaking go!